Namaste, Dhruti. Good morning, and thank you so much for your time and joining me today.
Namaste, Krishna. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to join you on this podcast. Thank you.
And could you introduce yourself just for the sake of audience and as to what you do, what is your current passion, and what is making you, uh, you know, brimming with life as you are.
Thank you so much, Krishna. So, I am Dhruti Shah, and to give a more formal introduction, I am the director at C2C OD right now. We're a boutique organizational development firm based out of Bangalore with presence across Asia Pacific. And along with that, The Resilient Entrepreneur is the book I'd written, and I have a podcast under the same name called The Resilient Entrepreneur, where I interact with entrepreneurs and bring their stories, not just only of success, but their struggles. So it's a passion project for me in a way. And resilience is something that I truly connect with. Well, in a more informal way, I am an explorer, which means that I'm one of those people who is never satisfied doing just one thing. I like to do multiple things at the same time. I enjoy traveling. I live in Bangalore with my family. I have a daughter and a beautiful lap dog who is brimming with life always, to use the term that he used for me. But yeah, and what really keeps me going is my support system. So I'm grateful for that.
If you could share a few instances where, or if you could share some of the positive habits you've inculcated from the past that has really helped you, professionally, personally, and otherwise.
Sure. So, if you don't mind, I would go a little back in life because I think most of the things that we end up doing today is somewhere connected to our childhood. I truly believe in that, and hence, the upbringing of a child and all that is so important in life. I've come to realize that. But one of the things, Krishna, I have somehow managed to do, I don't know how I did it, is I have this ability, if you may call it, to block out the bad experiences, which means that it's as if it has never happened. And what that essentially does for me is that it's not that I'm ignoring it, it's not that I am bottling it up, it's just that I process things really fast. So when I got married, for example, my husband will always say, right? He's like, it's like you have a switch that you can turn on and off at your whims and fancies. And he finds it really difficult, but I think it's a skill that I eventually built because what I realized is that negativity can really handicap you in more than one way. And I'm a very sensitive person. So I'm very sensitive to people's energy, to my own energy. And I realized that building the positive habits, as you call them, is really, really critical. And how did I go about doing that, right? So one of the things is I have a few very close friends, right? And that's what I mean by support system. I can confide anything and everything to them without the fear of being judged, without the fear of it leaking to the world out there. So I really created those relationships where there is mutual respect, where there is mutual love, and you can confide into them, which is so important. I also, over a period of time, realized that I needed a coach in my life. So I'm a certified coach myself. And I realized the importance of having a coach in my life because that is another space which is just for me, which I've carved out for myself with the help of my coach. And I discuss anything and everything under the sun with her, which really helps me process information in a better way. The third, so one is the support system, right? The second thing that I look at is my reading habits, which have really helped, right? A lot of times I would force myself to read good books, and good, you can define what good is for you, but for me it was more about self-help, it was more about biographies. And I came to realize that, yeah, those books are great, and I do read them even today, but I figured that I really enjoy reading a certain type of book. For example, fiction is something that I love. And I stay in a positive frame just by reading certain fictional books, which are funny, which has some action in it, which has some mystery in it. And that just keeps me in a different mind space. The third thing that I do is the kind of music I listen to. And very recently, I had a LinkedIn post on that where I was just, what's your jam? And that for me has been really critical since I think about 30 years now. Music has been a part of my life. I started playing guitar a bit. I started playing piano a bit, but then I realized it's not the playing of music that gives me the positivity. It's the listening, and when I'm listening to music, I'm one with it. So that really, I think, just being mindful of the music you're listening to brings in that sense of positivity, right? And the fourth thing, and the last thing I would want to share is it's a lot of inner work that you need to do in order to truly remain positive. And it's a choice that you make, right? Now, the close friends I was talking about, uh, they have situations in their life where they would feel a little down in the dumps, right? But it's a mindset shift that all of us need to do. And that keeps you in the positive mind frame. You can look at a situation in a certain way. For example, life is not always going to deal you the cards that you want. You're going to get the cards that life throws at you, right? Now it depends how you play those cards. I play a little bit of poker as well. So I'm just using that analogy right now. When you have, let's say a three and a five, but it's suited, then it's up to you to wait it out and see, are you hitting it at the turn or at the river? How are you going to wait for it, right? So if you think about it from that perspective, I think having that patience and making the choice to say that, this is not working out for me, this particular mind frame is not serving me, how about I try to look at it from a different angle? So looking at your life with curiosity is also important in that sense, right? Imagine holding an object in your hand that you've never seen before. You hold it to the sunlight and you say, that's an interesting angle. Or, okay, so when the sunlight falls in a certain angle, I see a certain color. It's having that open-mindedness, that curiosity with which you approach life, which will help you work better with the circumstances that you put into, right? And again, it's a choice. You may choose to take that object and put it in your bag in a dark place, or you may choose to hold it against the sunlight and say, hey, that's interesting, I never thought of it this way, right? So these are a few things that I typically do.
The ability to block out negative experience. Was that a result of um, the coaching or the reading?
So I realized I have this ability to block out much later in life, but I've been doing it for a long time. So I think this was 2009, and I was hiking. I was in California at that point in time, and I was hiking a mountain, right, with my husband, and we were just talking about it, and he brought up a negative incident that had happened some time back, right? And I'm like, really? That happened? I have no idea. And it's not like I have memory lapses. I have a good memory, right? I started noticing those things in me where I can easily, you know, it's like saying no to something that you know is not good for you. So when I know that those negative experiences are not helping me, I just block them out. I don't know how I do that. It's just something I think I developed as as a coping mechanism in my childhood, if I may say so, because there were a lot of negative experiences I had as a child, whether it was in my school or it was outside of that, right? Just it could be the neighbors or the kids or whatever that was. I and I think that's when it started for me. So I don't even know what I did consciously. I really believe that, and we all know this, right? Our brain is a very powerful thing. It is capable of, you cannot even imagine what we are capable of, right? And there's a lot of debate that goes on in terms of whether we've unleashed the complete power of our brain, left hemisphere, right, whatever that is. But it is what it is. And I just discovered it in 2009 and I started observing it. And I'm like, interesting how this works. And I've had this conversation with my coach as well. I'm like, I'm worried, what am I doing? Am I really bottling up emotions or what is it? And we uncovered that it's not really that. It's just an ability that I've developed over a period of time. And I'm grateful for that, right? Because otherwise you tend to get stuck in the past a lot more if you don't have this ability to constantly bounce back, right? Which is a little bit of an element of resilience over there. And I'm sure experts may agree, disagree. I don't know. It's working for me, and I'm grateful for that, right? That's the way I look at it. In terms of the whole curiosity mindset, it actually is a very recent thing that I started doing. Um, I was doing it, but I didn't have the language for it, maybe. But this whole thing around remaining curious, remaining open minded was something I started doing in 2018, 2019, somewhere around that, when I moved to Singapore. And the move to Singapore was not a very happy move for me in that sense. I was a trailing spouse. I was giving up on something that I absolutely loved over here, professionally speaking, in Bangalore. And I was going to Singapore to support my husband. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do, but I know it's good for him and I'm going to do it. So it took a lot in me to get out of that dark space and, do something meaningful with my life. Actually, that's when the book happened. That's when I became a leadership coach and all of that. So that's why I always say it's a choice. I could have gotten stuck over there and could have blamed him for not being able to do whatever I needed to do. But instead of that, you kind of just look at it and say, okay, now that you're in this situation, what is it that I can do to make it better for me? And believe me, you always have a choice. I've written this in the book and I believe in it. You're a sum total of the experiences that you have. And somebody also has said you're a sum total of the choices that you make. And I believe in both of them, right? Because eventually you are just that, if you think about it. So, am I missing something? Did you have anything else in mind that you wanted to ask?
The question that you said, what can I do, to make this wonderful for me? I think it's also an ability or skill to ask empowering questions. Had you asked, like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why did I make this choice? And then, have negative answers. So that's again a habit, I would say, or a skill
Yeah,
that you repeatedly ask empowering questions that give you positive answers that's going to lead to your well-being
yeah,
overall. So
absolutely.
thanks for that.
Mhm.
What are the good habits that you inculcated in terms of actually singling out the habits? You mentioned there could be a lot of overlaps. That would be great, so that you might have adopted certain
Yep.
different habits at different time frame of life.
So music for me, like I said, started 30 years ago. So I was really a child back then. And it was interesting. I was never really into music, but I took a trip with a family friend and they were listening to the music. I think they had a Walkman or something, the Sony Walkman back then. So they were listening to that and I was like, what are you listening to? And, I just started, and the journey became so much fun as a result of that. I went home, I told my dad, I'm like, I want to listen to music. And we had a little music player at home. I'm talking about 1992 or 93. This was way back, right? And he's like, sure. And he started playing music for me. And I developed my taste based on his taste with music. And then I brought in my own. So even the kind of music I listen to is very peppy, it's very upbeat, typically, right? And so music happened then. Reading actually started, I believe that was around the year 1999, 2000 is when I really started picking up books and reading. Started off with fiction, and then for professional reasons, started reading nonfiction books, right? Which are also a lot of fun. Now I love reading biographies. Biographies happened to me very recently, actually. 8 or 9 years back is when I really picked up biographies. I'm like, wow, I can so relate to this, right? So different life stage, you relate to different things. So books happened at that point in time. Curiosity mindset happened around 4 years ago for me. That's when the move to Singapore, right? So that's when I really started picking up from there. An absolute level of self-awareness achieved when I became a coach. So I always knew, but like I said, I didn't have the language for it. And I think I got that language 4 years back. And ever since then, there has been no looking back, right? Because as you get that, the self-doubt, the self-critic in you, all of that starts dissolving and you start seeing yourself in a better light. And that helps you propel forward rather than holding you back. So yeah, so if you think about it, surrounding myself with good people is, I didn't know how important this was for me. So I organically, you make friends. I didn't make any friends in my school life, but when I went to college, which is junior school and beyond, I made some amazing friends. And even there was a lot of experimenting. But again, without having the language for it, I knew what my values were. people who did not align with my values, I automatically, scrub them out of life, if I can say that. It's a very brutal way of putting it, but you do that. And I'm really good at that, in the sense that when I know that this person is absolutely against the values that I hold, like their values versus my values, I don't take a moment to say thank you, it's been great knowing you, moving on, right? And I do it nicely. It's not so brutal as it sounds, but yeah. So that's I did in my college life. And I think the whole exercise around values, understanding and identifying my values, which has further helped me crystallize who I hang with in that sense, again happened in 2019, 2020. So it's been a few years since then. And then I created what I call a sentence or a vision for myself, that this is how I looked at myself. So for me, that is, to bring joy and positivity in every situation that I encounter. That's my mantra. That's my sentence. That's what I live by. And if I see people and their energy trying to bring my energy down, I know I need to go away and say, thank you, but this is not working for me. So I think just being aware of what is helping you move forward versus what is bringing your energy down has really helped me in that sense. And I'm very mindful of that, very, very mindful. So that, yeah, those are some of the things.
How do you maintain the distance when it comes to energy vampires or something toxic or different from your values? If that's part of your close knit, say, work wise or personally, home front, or something that you can dispose or create a distance immediately, then what do you do? What's your coping mechanism? What's your go-to method?
That's a great thing. And I'm so glad you asked me, because most of the times all of us are aware of the why and the what. It's the how that we struggle with, right? Um, so again, one of the things I always do is, you're right, it's not always possible to escape from the negativity or the people, the toxic people. I like, the word toxic, you're right. And toxic for you.
Yeah.
I never judge. I'm like, you good on you. You work for certain people, just not from my energy, right? It doesn't work with my energy. So one thing that I always do is, whenever I have to work with these people, or if I'm surrounded by them in a party, or in a social setup, right? There is no escape, right? You cannot just walk away. That's rude. So I take my breaks and I buy my me time in situations like that. So, for example, if I'm having a 30 minutes meeting with someone who I know is a lot of negative energy for me, I end the meeting 5 minutes early, saying that, hey, I need to finish something up or whatever, right? Make something up if you have to, really. And take about 5 minutes, take a walk, listen to the music that works for you, talk to someone who gives you the positive energy. And if none of that is possible, just give yourself a good self-talk, right? That and that's necessary. What you tell yourself, the inner chatter that goes on, the mind chatter, as we say it, is super, super important, right? So one of the things I always do is, I'm not going to let this energy bring me down. I have certain things I'm looking forward to, which are great for me. I count my blessings. I say my gratitude for whatever is great in life. That just brings me back into a positive frame of mind again. Or I listen to a song for 3 minutes and I'm back, right? So I have a playlist that helps me do that. And or I talk to my best friend if she's available. If she's not, then one of these things always work out. And your inner torque is not going anywhere. That's something that will keep you going. The moment I wake up, right, I I smile, okay? And then, you have your morning routine, you look at the mirror, I smile again, and I say myself, good morning. And, today's going to be great, or something like that, right? Something along those lines, whatever comes to mind in that point in time, but something positive. And I just appreciate myself a little bit, because that just gives me a little bit of a push. And that is one tiny little mini habit that I have. That means waking up, smiling, looking at yourself in the mirror and smiling, even if you feel like shit, just smile. Force yourselves to smile. You cannot always smile. That's ridiculous, and it's impossible to do it every day. But even if you cannot, just smile, because it sends certain signals to the brain that, hey, you know what? It's all right. We are smiling. Things look all right. Okay, let's work to help Dhruti get through whatever shit she's going through right now because she looks okay, right? So I always believe in that. Your body and your mind are connected, of course, and they are always sending signals to each other. So again, it's a choice what signal you're sending. So that's one thing. The second thing I have is I tattooed this on my index finger actually, and it's a Viking symbol which says, "I know I can and I will." And it's on my right because I'm a right-handed person. So even when I'm writing or I'm typing, I can always see it. And when I feel low, I look at it and I tell myself, I know I can and I will. So those are little things. I have a double infinity tattoo on my hand, which is something I had done for my daughter to show my love for her. And it says that I love you infinity times infinity. That's what it means, the double infinity. And so those are some of the things that I've done. And as you notice, it's all under my control because I believe in the power of operating from your circle of control. I don't go to the circle of influence. Stephen Covey has given us the three circles or the circle of concern. I strongly operate from the circle of control because that's what you got. you know Everything else is circumstantial, situational, influenced by other people, but you always have you. So the more you build yourself towards it, the more it helps.
It's a great example because you have a trigger. You have the Viking tattoo to trigger. Do you have any other triggers set up for you to remember some of the routines? Anything else? To drink some water, or maybe go for a walk, or sleep a certain point in time. Any other? This is again basic for sure.
Yeah.
But then some people watching this might or hearing this might be inspired to do so.
Absolutely. Happy to share that. So for me, I'm a Libran, okay? And for people who believe in the zodiacs, Librans are all about balance. And I came to realize that for me, my family life and my professional life both are equally important. I'm never going to say one is my priority. I think for me, everything that I've carved out for myself is a priority in its own way, right? So I've created a routine for myself. I used to hate routines, but I came to realize that it helps me remain disciplined. I thought routine was for boring people. Every time I would read one of those biographies 8 years back, I'm like, oh my God, I would rather die than have this. That was me judging. And over a period of time, I've come to love having a routine. So for me, it's quite simple, right? I wake up, I smile, as I told you, and then have to send my daughter to school. So there is a morning routine around that. But before any of that happens, I heard a video about a Navy SEAL who talked about folding your blanket or folding your bed sheet, right? I still
Another one.
remember that. This was such a long time ago, but I still remember that. And that makes me really feel productive, right? In that sense, yay, one thing done, move on to the next. Um, right in the start, in the morning, I do taiso. So taiso is a Japanese form of exercise, and it's a 13 to 14-minute routine, which I do while my kid is getting ready for school. I bake in the time to do that. That is super important for me because that just gets me started on the right note in terms of being physically active. That is, again, I believe in the Japanese philosophy of remaining physically active, not necessarily hitting the gym or doing weight training or strength training, but just physically active, right? So that's what I do. A few other things which are really important for me during the day is I have a mental checklist, right? And there are a lot of things on that mental checklist, right? So some of them, and this is part of what keeps me really going, and because it's all about the balance for me. Was I able to spend enough time with my child? Was I able to give quality time, to my husband? My father-in-law lives with me, so was I able to sit and at least have a cup of coffee with him? Was I able to achieve professionally what I wanted to achieve? In a month, I also like to learn new things. What did I learn in that month is also part of that checklist. Remaining physically active in the form of either taiso or going for a walk or biking or dance fitness. These are some of the things, some combination thereof, I need to do in order to continue going in a positive mind frame. Did I spend enough time with myself to reflect on how I am doing? Because I've come to realize if I'm not taking care of myself, whatever I do, whatever face I put up, I do a shoddy job of taking care of others. right? And I know that people are leaning in on me, whether it's work or it's home. I know that people look at me for something or the other, right? So if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to be a caregiver or a provider in that sense. So that's all baked into my routine. I end the day watching at least 1 hour of television because I've come to realize that's super important for me as well. I open New York Times and I play Spelling Bee or Connections or one of those games because I love that. It's a great mental workout for me as well. And so these are the small little things which I've baked in, and I do it every single day. So there is a time when I do it. It actually goes on my calendar, by the way, because what I don't see, I tend to miss out. So either it is on my calendar or I have it on my wardrobe where I've just literally written down what I want to do. I look at it and I'm like, yep, done. And that just keeps me going. There are days when I'm not able to. For example, when I'm traveling for work, right? It gets difficult at times in order to do this. There is a mini version of that list for the days when I'm traveling. Am I able to do that? Yes. Great. If I'm not able to do it, rather than being tough on myself and saying, which is what something I used to do, and saying, the self critical part of you, which says, oh my God, what did I do the entire day? Right? Where did time go? Especially on a Sunday. It's the worst day for me because I'm so lazy. I've given myself the permission to be lazy on the Sunday if I feel the need to be. I used to pack my Sunday with activities as well for my child. At some point, I gave myself the permission to take it easy, to lay it low, just sit on the couch and watch the tree or the birds or whatever you feel like. So nature is again something that's very important for me. And that's why I do hiking and going to places like close to Bangalore. I love doing all of that pretty frequently. I think it's okay to give yourself the permission to slack it out once in a while. And I hate the image where women are shown with 10 different hands doing 10 different things. No, we have two hands. It's just our amazing ability at times to be able to manage and do everything in the same 24 hours that everyone else has. And I always say that it's an attempt, it's a task, and it has a cognitive overload kind of effect on you at times. So take it easy when you need to, right? Give yourself some time off, go for a walk, do something different from your routine if that's what you need. But I think it's important to treat yourself with compassion and kindness, just the way you would do to other people, right?
Are there some go-to rewards, positive ones, of course, that you follow that you would like to share?
This was something I had thought of some time back. Like, how do I celebrate, right? And how do I go back? So I'm guilty of this. I don't celebrate as much as I should. However, for me, I believe what really works for me is my mindset in that sense, right? If I have to think about it. And and that's a reward in itself for me. Because if I am able to remain in a positive mindset, if I'm able to remain with that growth mindset that Carol Dweck gave us the term, right? And if I'm able to remain with a mindset where I am up and going whenever I need to, that's enough for me. Uh, Very basic need, right? I need to be physically fit so that I can go wherever I want, travel all I want with my family, and I want to be mentally fit, which means that there are days when things are not working out really well. With this routine or with all the things that I'm doing, am I mentally fit to tackle whatever comes my way? If the answer is yes, that's a reward for me. And yeah, the smaller things are always there, right? So going out for dinners with family, or if I've done something really nice, I'll bring in a cake at home, or I love flowers. So I order flowers for myself if I've done something nice, right? And I'm like, yay, because they cheer me up, right? So I think those small little things I definitely do. There is no big thing that I do in that sense. But like I said, if I'm physically fit, mentally fit, and if I keep doing the small little things, that's it. And I think the biggest gratification comes from when you see people around you appreciate what you're doing and And that matters. I'm human, right? I love it when people come and tell me that I love the way you did this, or I liked how you handle yourself, or I don't know how you do this. I cannot, I find it impossible to remain positive all the time. And I'm like, give it time, don't be desperate because otherwise you're going to ruin it for yourself. Just give it time, be consistent and be patient. So that's what I always say. But yeah, that I love it when people appreciate it. And that's a reward in itself.
Do you deliberately carve out some time to get bored, to slack it out, to do nothing, just be as a person or as a being? Do you do that deliberately? If you do you have a routine once in a year or once in a week? How does it work?
Once a week, actually. Once a year is too less for me. Once a week. So there are times when, and I listen to myself a lot, right? So that thing around self-awareness. So whenever I feel that I'm getting there, which means it could be burnout, it could be a negativity spiral, it could be getting annoyed or irritated at things which usually wouldn't irritate me, that means it's time. It's time to give yourself a break. So I go on staycations if I feel the need. Okay. So that happens on an as needed basis, right? I pack my bag, go away for 2 nights, nothing doing, just me, myself, and whatever I need in order to bring back my energy, right? In that sense. So I do that. And there is no routine over there. It's literally what I feel like doing in that moment. That's all I do. The weekly thing that I talked about is the Sunday I was referring to, right? That's my time when, and especially Sunday mornings. I, by the way, I think, I don't know if this helps, but I don't have a clock in certain rooms at my
Mm.
home. And what that does for me is there is no pressure of time. And in the modern age, we're all pressured for time. So, for example, if I'm sitting in my living room, there is literally no clock in that and the dining room, which means that you lose a sense of time and you're just sitting there having a conversation over a cup of coffee. I think I'm mentioning coffee for the third time now. I'm really passionate about coffee too, but you are just there, either having a conversation or sipping coffee or just looking out on the street, and that's it. Just pause in that sense, just hitting pause.
Compared to us, do you also do similar with the screens in living and dining? Do you follow any no screen policy?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a bit of a stickler for that. It doesn't always work out with the family, but at least for me, no screen. I'm minimum on phone post 5:30 p.m. That's supposed to be strictly the time for my daughter. And yeah, and I take her permission if I have to pick up the phone for work or whatever. So that kind of contracting I've done with myself and with her, because I believe in quality and quantity time with your child and not just, being there for the half an hour where you feel is enough, right? So yeah, there is a no screen policy for sure.
Yeah, I'm still curious as to why that particular word is behind you over any other words that you could have kept there.
Actually, I have two. One is a little up there, which you cannot see. One is love and one is inspire. Because both for me are key in the sense that um, when I say love, so remember I said that for me, it's about bringing in the joy and positivity in every situation. That's my sentence. You cannot do that until you're truly in love with yourself and with everything around you, right? So I think you really got to love yourself. Inspire for me is a, so we're getting inspiration from everything that you see, right from a beetle in your garden, to to your CEO or whoever you're working with. But it's about looking at what in this person or in this object or in this animal or thing inspires me, right? And again, it comes from that place of curiosity, right? At the same time, it's a reminder for myself that, uh, and the reason I pause right now, because in my head I'm thinking, do people take it as pressure? For me, it is not. The way I think about inspire is, how am I projecting myself out there, right? Am I am I able to ignite some level of inspiration, either to live better or to be better or to be just a better version of yourself, right? So as a coach, that's something that I would want to do. I want people to become a better version of themselves. And I don't do it by telling, I do it by asking. I mean, that's coaching, you would know that. But so that's where the inspire also comes from. So there were a lot of other words, you're right, that could have picked up on, but love and inspire is something that always talks to me.
Any financial habits that you have, if you could share,
Yep.
that worked and didn't work, or you overcome and that you strictly follow now?
So I think one of the things that has always worked for me is came from my dad again, is this habit of saving. I don't have a credit card. I only spend what I have, right? And when it comes to bigger things, of course, it's my husband and I together where we pitch in. But personally speaking, I make it a point to save at least 20% of my salary, right? For me, that is a non-negotiable. And I do it, these days, of course, when you think about it, there's mutual funds, right? So SIP typically works out really well. And the way I've thought about it is until the age of 45, I would want to be high equity, less debt. Once I start crossing 45, that ratio will start switching to more debt and less equity, because then I become a little bit more risk averse as I age in that sense, right? So that's one thing which I've definitely done. The second thing is having multiple portfolios, in terms of how do you diversify your investments is equally important. And so mutual fund is one way to go about it. You want to remain, agile in the sense that need to have enough liquidity, but at the same time enough that is locked in money, right? So if you can, I think one of the suggestions always have for people is whatever it is, whether it is land or whether it is an apartment, or if you can afford a single family home, whatever that is, invest in property, because that has never hurt, right? So let's say if we are talking about 20%, right? So 10% of it can go into mutual funds. 5% you think about what suits in terms of your EMI. So you either buy a plot of land, however small that is, right? It's yours. And the other 5% can go into more safe bucket, like a fixed deposit or something, which ain't going anywhere, right? Because it is liquid. And at the same time, you have access to it when you need it. Mutual fund, of course, you can break that too. It's become easier over a period of time. But fixed deposit is something which I also have. Just in case I feel like there is a need, there's an urgent need of money, it's easy to break it. You have it in 5 minutes and you're done. So yeah, so that's the way I typically look at it.
Any bad habits that you've had in the past? How did you overcome?
Two things, and both were deeper, and it took some time to get out of it. One was I had a difficulty in trusting people. How did I overcome that? A lot of hard work. I still don't, as much as I would like, which puts me at the back foot sometimes in relationships. But it takes work, and again, it has stuff to do with childhood experiences. It takes work. And I think one question I ask myself is, what's the worst that will happen to you if they break your trust, right? Ask yourself that. So I do that, and that helps me trust people a little bit more. The second bad habit I had, and I have no other physical or such habits that I had to overcome, thankfully. I never picked up any. But the second bad habit, it was all here for me, and hence I'm big on mindset. You can link that now in that sense. The second one was my self-talk was really, it was very self-deprecating. It would always bring me down. I was very critical of myself. Um, Doing the value exercise, uh, you know, appreciating what I have rather than mulling over what I don't, what I need to do, working with my strengths, having that coach in my life, all of that has really helped me overcome that. And I cannot say I am, uh, 100% broken free. It's impossible. There is still a little bit of negativity there. However, the ability to recover from it is much faster now than what it was in the past. So I can recover from that in literally the same hour, rather than it used to take weeks to get over it. So yeah, so I think those are some of the things that have really helped.
Right. You mentioned you were in Singapore and you decided to write the book. What was the pivotal moment for that decision to, transport?
Serendipity. I've been asked this so many times, and I kid you not, I had just gone for an event, okay, and I met someone in the basement, and we were waiting for the cab, and she just said to me, "Hey, by the way, I'm XYZ. If you ever think of writing a book, I think you should get a book coach." I'm like, I don't even know you. Why would you give me that advice? I have no idea. But again, I'm very curious and I have always remained open to whatever the universe throws at me. So that really made me think that, I have been thinking about, by the way, I did a short course in journalism way back in 2002. So I always maintained a journal. By the way, that's another habit that helped me overcome some of the tough moments of life, by the way. I always used to have a journal. I don't anymore. I have a different coping mechanism now. Sorry, this is a sidebar note kind of thing. But journaling was something that really helped me get out of the muckiest situation in my life, right? It really helped. Coming back to the book. So, and I'm like, that's interesting. So I did some introspection. I'm like, is this something I really want to do? And uh, if I did want to write a book, I was already thinking about how am I going to stand out from the crowd. I knew I wanted to do something of my own. I knew I wanted to enter the space of leadership coaching and all of that. So I'm like, how am I going to be able to do this? And resilience as a quality is something I've shown since a very long time. So that came about, and I hired a book coach, rightly so, as advised, and sometimes unsolicited advice really works, right? If you're just open to receiving it. Got myself a book coach. We had some amazing discussions, and really that's how the book came into being. It was not a bucket list thing. All I never thought in my life that I'll write a book. Thanks so much.
Where can people find this book currently in India and outside? If people are tuning from outside.
Yeah, so this is on Amazon, and you just have to type in Dhruti Shah and Resilient Entrepreneur, and you'll see it there.
Right. Where else can people find you if they want to get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So LinkedIn is what I use for professional networking. That's a platform I absolutely love. I'm on it pretty much every day. So yeah, I would love to connect with people on LinkedIn. The podcast is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well for the people who use iPhone and all. So you can find the podcast over there. It's called The Resilient Entrepreneur by Dhruti Shah, and we are in the second season right now at the time of this recording, and we are hoping to do many
Congratulations.
more. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And finally, before we go, is there any message that you want to give it to women entrepreneurs, women in general, people who are tuning to find out, how do I build a better life or well-being? Anything at all that you want to, probably the top three, and then in general, any message that you want to give out the world.
Sure. I think the first thing that has helped me, which I want to share, and I've done that in different ways throughout our conversation, easier said than done, but believe in yourself. Because without that, whatever you go out there and achieve, you'll never be truly satisfied if you don't have that belief. So that self-belief is, call it self-efficacy, self-belief, whatever you want to call it, super, super important. That's number one. Number two, learn to, I call it, I'm trying to remember what did I exactly say at that point in time. Open-minded stubbornness. What that essentially means is that you have that laser focus on the goals that you've set for yourself, but you also remain open-minded for things that may come your way. Just the way I shared my story about the book, for serendipity, leave space for that. And third, most importantly, do not ignore your inner voice. It is very powerful. We've learned to tune it out based on the expectations that the society has of us. Just ask yourself, just pause and ask yourself, what version of the life are you living? Is it the version that you would have wanted, or is it the society's version? And once you're able to answer that for yourself with all the honesty, remember this: you can change. It's again a choice. So I think it's very important. we bind ourselves with these beliefs that, it's too late. I'm 50. You've no idea. Just Google things that women have done, even at the age of 75 and 90. It's phenomenal, right? And I think if they can do it, we can too. So the sky is the limit of what you're able to achieve. So, there's a saying, right? If things go your way, great. If they don't, even better, because the universe has a better plan for you. And just believe in that. But I think, Krishna, one of the biggest things which I've seen is we don't have the patience to see things through. We either give up very easily or we get excited and we jump in very easily, but just hang in there, especially when things are not going your way. Just hang in there and don't do anything drastic. Things will evolve. But eventually, the action is something that we have to take. You cannot be a bystander to your own life. You have to be an active participant of your own life, right? Otherwise, who's going to do it if not you? So do something, but hang in there too.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to end this with the tattoo that you have, double infinity. If you can say something, then we'll close on that positive note.
Sure. So the double infinity was again something long time ago. There was a TV series, and I'd seen the father write it on the porch railing. It was a wooden porch railing for the daughter, and he'd done this double infinity sign, and he would always say to his daughter, "I love you infinity times infinity." And this was a time I didn't have my child. I'd just gotten married, and I was watching this, and it just stuck with me. And I'm like, if I ever have a child, this is how my love is going to be. It's going to be infinity times infinity. So that's how the tattoo happened. And the reason I put the same thing on the book cover is because when you think about double infinity, it is also about how it's your entire approach. And when you think about resilience as well, right? Your resilience is also infinity times infinity. There is no end to it. Yeah, we already have resilience. Sometimes the reserves run low and we need to refill it, refuel ourselves. All of that happens, but it's there and it's infinity times infinity. The knowledge that we acquire is infinity times infinity, because when we all perish and whatever way we go, there are still our atoms remaining, right? They have acquired something. They have a memory of their own, is what I believe, right? Science has maybe yet to prove that, but I do believe in that. And again, that knowledge, that wisdom, all of that is just there in infinity. So you think about space, you think about time, you think about resilience, you think about love for your child, bringing it all back in. It is infinity times infinity in that sense. So this tattoo means now much more to me than when I originally did it in 2013. I think the meaning has evolved for me since then.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and also anecdotes. And I think it's going to inspire and create self-love in a lot of people who are looking for them. So please do reach out to Dhruti Shah. I'm going to put in the link below, and do definitely buy the book. It's amazing. I've almost finished reading it and I absolutely love it.
Thank you for having me, Krishna. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you.